Hello, darkness, my old friend. We make that joke every time on the solicit, Nicholas. And you know what I realized
What?
is that that's something we should be reading. It's a horror anthology that we're not reading. Like James Tynan has written something for it, I believe. I saw something and I go, oh
Yeah, no, you
shit.
tried calling dibs on it way back, and then I haven't. Like, I keep every time I see it come out, I'm like, I need to read this thing. And like the Killer Darlings crew have written something for it. Yeah, I just
Yeah. That's we've been neglectful. We got to check that out.
100%.
Because that is definitely worth checking out. Nicholas, this has been a long ass month.
Yes, it has.
Holy cow. And I think it's
Yeah.
been one of our most productive months. We've had a couple of mainline issues. We got into a trade.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yes.
holy smoke. So I was taking a look at the numbers, right? Because Docky numbers. Um, so I've got a master list of all the books that we've ever done on the show. So 5 years worth of books, Nicholas. Can you or four
Mm.
plus, right? In 2024, we did mainline issues 91 through 106,
Okay.
right?
So 15 or 17.
Yeah, right. 1, 2, 3, yeah, whatever
Mm.
that is. Yeah,
Yeah.
somewhere in that ballpark.
I was
Right.
getting
We're we're
confused.
we're
Yeah.
we're we're on pace to crush that right now, right? We in 2025, we were on our fourth mainline issue already. So we keep at this pace. We might be going back to the old ways,
Yeah. Well,
you know?
it's good to mix it up. And every time we say that, we start getting flooded with chats and everything like that. It's honestly, like, you look at the start of this year, it's good that we're getting going, because like I thought there was a point where we had, was it February? Was like all interviews,
All
I think.
chats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe some of March too, something like that. Yeah, and that's a good reminder. I know you haven't done your introduction, but while we're on the subject of Fireside Chats, we had one earlier this week, which we'll talk about in a second. But just a reminder, the only place you're going to find Fireside Chats are on our audio channel. So make sure you go subscribe over there, leave a 5-star rating and review. Otherwise, you're going to learn the real meaning of Tenacious Doc. But I'm getting ahead of myself, Joe, because we're not doing that today. You can catch this in audio form, but also in visual form, clearly.
Well, I caught you off guard. I caught you off guard with the numbers.
Got you
It's
ready to go.
a beautiful mind over here.
I'm wired to go. I'm ready for this episode today.
All right. Well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, TLDR Studios proudly presents to you the greatest, and I mean the greatest podcasting team in the world. I am Tenacious Doc, and he is your friendly neighborhood comic book writer, Nick Friar. And together we are the TLDR Comic Book Club, baby. How's it going, Nicholas?
I'm wired to go, Joe. I need to make good on this, because we have finally found a way to keep score against one another. And I know there are times where we've gotten competitive with dibs, because, like, there's just a lot of good books out there and whatnot. But now I like this more. This is a good, healthy competition where we're both very much in control of our own destiny. There's no need to be stealing stuff from one another. And to me, that's just good old fashioned family fun, which is what this program's all about.
Yeah, and another thing to keep track of too is how many Eisner Award winning books I've recommended before they won the Eisners. Right?
That's 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 an interesting one too. That is an interesting one
I got you
also.
beat on that front too. You know,
I think you do. I think you do. Award nominated, right? Is how we're doing it.
I've even picked some winners. I think.
Yeah. No. Well, are we doing winners or nominated? I guess
Oh,
that's.
I don't know. We'll do nominated. That's
I think
probably.
nominated is better. I'm curious because I have honestly I haven't even thought about that in a bit, but I know, like, Kill Your Darlings, like, technically I didn't do that on the show, but I was gonna do that on the show. Like,
Well,
I feel like I deserve credit for that one. That's why.
mhm.
But anyways, we have to go back and check the tape on that, on all of that stuff. But yeah, okay, you don't deserve credit for it, but at the same time, like, I didn't even show up to the first fucking interview either. So
Oh,
yeah,
I thought you were
yeah.
going somewhere else. Okay, I thought you were gonna go how I snaked the good Asian from you.
Oh,
And then
that too. That too. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one doesn't count. That one's
yeah,
bullshit.
yeah. The Rona, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That one got me.
I forgot about
Got me
that.
good.
I
Got me good.
forgot about that, man. Oh my goodness. Oh, mother of God. All right, let's get moving on this shit. So yes, we do have our 11th trade, which is what we do every time that we get to 10 recommended books. We want to reflect on books that one another has recommended. We don't tell each other, and we're going to find a way to make that into a game this go around. We kind of have before, but now we're going to start keeping score. I'll give a quick little hint. Joe won the first 10, even though we weren't keeping score originally. But we're going to see what book the other read that we had recommended previously, and break those down a little bit from another perspective as well. But we got also a mainline episode to do as well, and then what's new this week as far as catching up goes. You have one book I think you caught up on in particular.
Yeah, Red Hulk too. I completely forgot to read the second issue. I had to go back and download it because we both read the first issue. We loved it. It's written by Benjamin Percy, and then classic Swiss cheese brain Doc. Completely forgot about issue 2. So when I saw issue 3 that's coming out this week, it's like, oh shit, got to catch up. So did that, loved it.
Yeah, it's been a fun series. It's Benjamin Percy. I mean, again, when he told us about it, I was like, this is going to kick ass. I didn't expect what it became, or what it's become so far. I've really enjoyed it. Before we get into what's new this week, I don't want to gloss over this, but letting everybody know that Saturday is going to be new comic book day. Not to timestamp things, but May
comic
3rd,
book day.
Free comic book day, dumbass. Not you, me. Free comic book day. Normal new comic book day is still the same. But free comic book day is Saturday, May the 3rd, so right before Star Wars Day. So make sure you whoever you know in your life that hasn't gotten introduced to comics yet, this is a great time to bring them there. We actually did get a look at a couple books that are going to be coming out on free comic book day. So I'll talk about one of those as we get into what's new. But why don't you kick us off with Marvel?
Yeah, we're gonna have May the 4th be with you and Revenge of the 5th. Apparently, that's a thing.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I think the Sox are doing some sort of giveaway that day. Because
you mean they got to win a game, try and mix it up?
Well, I was gonna say the talent ain't putting asses in the seats, so you got to get some Ewoks out there, or something.
Some Ewoks. My goodness. Also, we say this, they're sitting at 16-4, second in Division 1.5 games back. Ridiculous. I don't. It's
not been playing great, Bob. Anyways, that's our other podcast, the Red Sox Power Hour. From Marvel Comics, we have the Ultimate Spider-Man issue 16, Fantastic Four issue 31, Nyx issue 10, Hell Hunters issue 5, Doom Academy issue 3, the aforementioned Red Hulk issue 3, written by friend of the show Benjamin Percy. We have Rogue the Savage Land issue 4, TVA issue 5, Thunderbolts Doomstrike issue 3, Weapon X-Men issue 3, Doom's Division issue 2. I sense a theme here with the upcoming Fantastic Four movie. A lot of Doom and Fantastic Four coming up. We have Star Wars: The High Republic, Fear of the Jedi issue 3, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker adaptation issue 3, Godzilla vs. Spider-Man issue 1, Wolverine and Kitty Pryde issue 1, and Kid Juggernaut issue 1.
From DC, we got Batman: The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween issue 7, The Question All Along the Watchtower issue 6, Black Canary Best of the Best issue 6, Batman Wayne Family Adventures issue 162, and The Power Company Recharged issue 1.
And boy, oh boy, does Image Skybound have quite the week with them, and a few books that we will be discussing. But first, we have Void Rivals issue 18, Feral issue 12. Nicholas,
yeah.
I'm gonna little sneak peek about some of the books that we're gonna be talking about this week. There was a lot of horror. There was a lot of violence. This was a very bloody week for comics.
Yes, it was.
And Feral was amongst them. Wild issue. We have The Seasons issue 4, Snot Girl issue 20, Ultra Mega issue 9, Knights issue 15, Savage Dragon issue 277, You'll Do Bad Things issue 2. Did you read this one, Nicholas?
You'll Do Bad Things issue 2. I did not read that one.
We both read the first issue. I read this one. It's the only issue I'm having with it because I think the story is really good. It's got a bit of a pacing issue. I'm kind of going to and from, and maybe it's just me. I get a little lost.
I remember when we read it, the first issue, like again, I felt the same way, where in the sense
Yeah.
of like, I like this, but there's something just not quite right. I felt like the way that with the timings, like with the
Mm,
time jumpy type stuff, like the colors weren't doing enough to kind
yeah.
of let me know the differences. And I think that's where I had the issue.
Yeah, very, very similar again in issue 2. But I will
Mm,
say, like, the story's great, and this was another wildly violent issue. So
mm.
check that one out, Nicholas. I think you'll it gets a little bit better in issue 2 than it did in issue 1.
Nice, nice.
Bitter Root, The Next Movement, issue 2, Death of Copra, issue 4, The Patchwork Girl of Oz, issue 4, G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Duke, issue 1, Lost Fantasy, issue 1, Rockefellers, issue 5, and then a whole slew of actually just 2 number ones that we want to talk about.
They're not number ones.
You're right. 2 books that we want to discuss. It looks like a ton because I wrote down the creators' names, so
Yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah.
fuck that up. So it looks like a whole bunch of books.
This is
Strike
true.
that, reverse it. Let's you know what? Let's cut it. Let's just start from the top, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages.
I'm not stopping you. No, which one do you want to get into first?
I will kick us off with Radiant Black.
Ooh,
It's of course written by Kyle Higgins and Joe Clark with art by Eduardo Ferragato.
ooh,
Um, Man, I gotta tell you, first up, Eduardo's art is absolutely fantastic.
amazing.
It was so good. Just fits the universe really well. Marcelo Costa. Kicking things off. With the OG Radiant Black. But I thought and think that Eduardo's art in this issue is absolutely outstanding. But this was great, man. We're getting a lot more fallout from the Catalyst War. That it's not the type of fallout that you'd expect. And Nathan's having a hell of a time, with it, and it got really personal for him. And I know when we talked to Kyle last time, he sort of alluded to all this and the struggles that Marshall would be having, and we see it hit real close to home, in this issue. Of course, it wasn't without its levity, which is why I love this series. I don't know about you, but there was a hot second where I thought Marshall might hit on Nathan's mom.
Jeez.
I was like, "Don't do it, don't do it." I voted for you, buddy.
Wow.
Don't do that.
I don't think my head
Uh,
went there in the slightest.
I was
Hmm,
putting myself in
interesting.
Marshall's shoes there, Mrs. Robinson. But what I really loved, right, was we got a taste of this in the last issue of Rogue Sun, where we had the crossover between, Radiant Black and Rogue Sun. So we got it from the opposite perspective in this. So this was a really fun issue, and it really sets up a really, I think, interesting next phase
Yeah.
to Marshall's story.
This is one of my favorite issues of Radiant Black
Mm,
ever. No question. And yes, I
yeah.
agree. Like you talked about Eduardo Ferragato's artwork. I mean, his stuff with the Blood Moon was remarkable, dude. Just amazing action sequences. Like quite a few things. Where I'm like, this could easily be a poster. It was so fucking good. But absolutely, like uh, I was a Nathan guy. You were a Marshall guy. You won out. I have never like felt more for Marshall in an
Mm,
individual issue at all. And with everything that happened in the Catalyst War, I understand how that could seem a little insane. But when you guys read Radiant Black issue 33, I think you're going to understand because we also learn so much about the character from this experience. And it helps explain somewhat of why he is the way he is. And man, did I ever feel for him. It was it was really some of the best stuff that Kyle and Joe have written, and and again, like you said, it sets up for what's to come as well. Going in this post Catalyst War era, in this rebuild era, and shit's gonna get very uncomfortable because that is absolutely what happened in this issue. So definitely, yeah, I agree. Like one of their best issues yet.
yeah. I won't argue with that. This was excellent. This was very old school Radiant Black, and I loved it.
Mhm.
Nicholas, why don't you take us with this next book here?
Cursed fondue. Um, we're taking everyone down with us. Issue 2, Matthew Rosenberg, Stefano Landini, As soon as I fucking read this, I had that line. I'm like, I'm doing this. I'm not.
I
I'm ready to do this shit.
I was half a mind to throw that into my intro.
It was amazing. That fucking panel was just like, what the fuck? I love this guy.
Absolutely killed me.
He's ridiculous. And I know listeners who haven't read this yet are like, what the fuck are they talking about? There is so much world building in this issue, and that is just a small taste of what you guys are going to get when you read We're Taking Everyone Down With Us. So many intriguing new characters. I feel like if you don't walk away with like even like two that you're somewhat interested in, I'll be stunned. And that's something like I always feel like, oh, when you start seeing world building, everybody's going to get a character that they can, appreciate in some capacity. It's like, nah, I feel like there's at least two. And again, like you can have more. Who the hell knows? Also, such an amazing issue for Annalise. Like this is a character who I look, I thought she was interesting in the first issue. I totally slept on her though. I was not familiar with her game, and I apologize. She is a badass, and she has won me over quickly.
Oh, she's full of piss and vinegar. I absolutely love it. And yeah, you want to talk about like, stepping up to the plate, not realizing someone can throw 101.
Yeah,
like, inside,
seriously.
With precision.
Thinking I'm dealing with Julian Tavares over here, and it's Paul Skeens.
Oh, Julian Tavares. Oh, Jesus.
She's cut enough too different from him though. She'll fucking step on your hand.
Oh, she's batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Bad shit crazy, and I love it. This was such a great issue. This has been I want to go back and listen to our chat with Matthew Rosenberg, because I feel like now that I've read the second issue, there was some stuff that he mentioned. It's like, ooh, that I might have forgotten about. So freaking good.
Yeah, it really was a great week for Image. Definitely one of the stronger weeks, one of the stronger publishers this week after, a lighter week from DC and not as much for us from a Marvel standpoint. But there is an argument to be made that Boom may be the one that's stealing the show this week, because we had the return of a couple big titles, which we'll get to those in a second. But first, want to note that Power Rangers Prime issue 6 is out this week. Jim Henson Presents issue 3, and then the Graveyard Club Fresh Blood issue 1. But I think, Joe, we have to talk first about the return of James Tynion IV and Werther Deladeras. Something is Killing the Children. Issue 41 is out this weekend. This was the first thing that I was reading. There was no question about it. And now we're heading more into Erica's past with Jessica. And I think that's something like from just a reader standpoint, like there's so much they allude to that character so much, and they see her in flashbacks and talk about her and understand her influence. And it's like, yes, this is a character I absolutely want to learn more about, but I did not expect what we got from her and how she was depicted in issue 41. Very different from anything that we've seen. And I think we're going to get some insight into why Erica is the way she is, not only from like, we already got a little bit of that in this issue. Like we're getting a foundation of how was she like before Jessica was gone. And now I think we're going to get even more insight into what her motivations are in the present day. I'm very much interested in this next arc.
The sense of foreboding that you get reading this issue, like every panel, every line of dialogue is meaningful, and is impactful in the sense that we know where Erica is current day. We know her standing in the order. We know, how she's talked about her mentor in the past, and what we haven't gotten is how she sort of met her demise. And we're gonna get that, right? That's everything that this issue is starting to set up. It's planting those seeds. And what I loved was they're being sent on a new mission, and it's a very personal one. And like I said, that sense of foreboding, that sense of this is going to be where that moment happens, where Erica Slaughter becomes truly Erica Slaughter. And I can't wait to see that happen.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This was such an awesome start to this series after we've been waiting so long for the return. The last year we had the one-offs that were great. Really enjoyed those. Great way to introduce new people to the Slaughterverse as well. But now it's like it's time. We're getting going, and we're getting really really fucking heavy in this arc.
Yeah. So like I said, that was the first read for me as well. But the other book that was also like it followed it very very quickly was Grimm, issue 22, written by Stephanie Phillips with art by Flaviano. And man,
The
like
ending. Obviously, we're not gonna get into it, but it's just like, oh, what the fuck, man! Like, God,
that
what a final page. Oh,
you talked about with Radiant Black, that being one of your favorite issues of Radiant Black. This might have been my favorite issue of Grimm.
wow, wow. Okay.
And it was because of that ending, but it was, it was all the buildup. It was the chess game, the figurative and literal chess game that was being played throughout the issue. This wasn't an action-packed, issue, but it didn't need to be. It's setting up the next stage, right? Where, we're sort of building towards this sort of cataclysmic event here. And um, the actions taken by one of my favorite characters I did not see coming, absolutely blew me away. And that's how you want an episode to end, or an issue to end, I should say.
Either way,
Um, and just so effing good.
yeah, it really was. It is. It's I'm glad to hear that it was your favorite issue. It was a great return to the series because again, this is another one where it's like been on pause, and I love that Boom put them both out this week. Really, honestly, like a great week for indie comics. And I know we always talk about Image like is really big three kind of whatever, but still, it's like this is they're not the same as the big two. And we still got more to dig into. I'll take us through. Actually, no, why don't you take us through some, Joe? What do we got from Dark Horse this week?
So from Dark Horse, we have Who Are the Power Pals, issue 2, Frankenstein, New World, The Sea of Forever, issue 3, Star Wars Hyperspace Stories Codebreaker, issue 1. This is written by friend of the show, Ethan Sachs, with art by Jose Marzin Jr. and Mark Yarza. I just feel like you could just say Star Wars Codebreaker. Like, tighten up.
There's got to be a legal thing for that. Or
Yeah.
Gotta be.
I don't have to like it though. And then we have Star Wars: The Republic Adventures, The Battle of Eridu, issue 1. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. I'm not completely all familiar with my proper Star Wars
Couldn't tell you the right way to say
pronunciation.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
no idea.
it's not Erica Badu. I can tell you that much. From IDW, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin 2 Re-Evolution, issue 5. I feel like this is like been going on for like 2 years now. Godzilla vs. America, Los Angeles, issue 1, and My Little Pony Tournament of Mysteries, issue 1. And then you take us through these next few there, Nicholas.
So from Titan, we got the Savage Sword of Conan, issue 8. From Dynamite, we got Thundercats 15, supposedly, The Terminator, issue 7, and Darkwing Duck, issue 3. Joe, I think we got a couple things from Oni this week as well that we did jot down.
And you didn't. Oh, you know what? Maybe that's my
Yeah.
fault.
Yep, I did. It's okay. So you find that. I'm going to take us through Mad Cave real quick. So we got the Phantom issue 0. That is a new comic book day release. We got Defenders of Earth issue 6, Dark Pyramid issue 2, and there are 3 Mad Cave books that we want to talk about in some capacity. But first, I do want to mention Crush Depth. I know you're going to be doing it in your stack this week, but issue 2 is out. Of course, we talked with Tim Daniel and DB Andry a little while back. There is a splash page that you get in this issue that it will haunt your nightmares, especially if you're someone who like absolutely fears the deep ocean and everything. And if you're a horror fan, I honestly wouldn't be stunned if you're like, I want this turned into a poster. It's such a great, like, it's a great illustration, but it's also like in its own, but it's also a great illustration of like what the dark, terrifying, like things that like can linger in the ocean that could possibly linger in the ocean. I love that image alone, and I think it's such a great representation of the series. Before we go further into these breakdowns, did you find that stuff from Oni?
Damn right I did. So from Oni Press, we have Free for All issue 1. That's a second printing. So and that's from Patrick Horvath. So I can't believe I missed this one the first time around. So I'll be looking for that faux show. We have the Nacelle verse, The Great Garlu issue 0. And then Oni also has a book for Free Comic Book Day. EC Comics presents Blood Type issue 0. So that actually, the cover for that looks pretty good, pretty cool, I should say. Terra in a Jaguar van, Right. So yeah, the cover of that looks pretty terrifying. So that's Oni Press, and I believe we will be able to discuss some more Oni Press books on the show, hopefully in the coming weeks, Nicholas. So
Yes, we also got Adventure Time issue 2 and Plague House issue 2. So Adventure Time, that's something we've been reading. Plague House, I think, is something you and I, one of us is going to have to check out.
I've got the first issue of that, and
Okay.
that wasn't listed on League of Comic Geeks, but that could
No,
be a
but
League
it's
of Comic Book thing.
that's definitely on them. That's definitely on them. So we got that now. But yes, we will be able to do Oni reviews ahead of New Comic Book Day now moving forward because we got those review copies. So very excited. Very excited.
Go.
Yeah, awesome stuff. All right, back to Mad Cave because we've got 3 books that we wanted to break down, Joe. Where would you like us to start things?
I'll start things off with the number 1.
Okay.
So again, like, and Mad Cave's bringing the friggin' horror this week, man. The Slasher's Apprentice, issue 1. I'm calling dibs on this, Nicholas. This is written by Justin Richards with art by Val Halverson. This is a book that's right up your alley. You will love this book, and so I will do my absolute darndest to discuss it as soon as we can, so that you can read it as quickly as you can. This book sort of gives me what's the Kyle Starks slasher book we just read that just finished?
Oh God.
I know, I'm putting you
We
on the
just
spot
talked
here.
about it last. We just talked about it last week. Give me 1 second. You did it in your Those Not Afraid.
Those Not Afraid. It gave me Those Not Afraid vibes. Okay.
Nice.
So what we're dealing with is a really vicious, maniacal serial killer, and as the title would suggest, someone who is obsessed and wants to become their apprentice. What I loved about it, though, was the apprentice was very unassuming, and I love that because the it seems in stark contrast to sort of who the serial killer is, just at least in terms of, like, one seems horribly violent and vicious, and the other seems like a little church mouse. And I loved that contrast. And so, Halverson's art I thought was fantastic. Richard's storytelling, the pacing, everything about this book was excellent. It does what you want a number 1 to do: tell you a great story, put its hooks into you, to make you want that second issue as fast as possible. So, Slasher's Apprentice, issue 1, must read. Pick it up if you see it on your comic book shelves. Throw it on your pull list. If you're a horror fan, this is like, you need it.
I'm pissed at myself because I went to check the monthly solicits and I was like, I feel like I noticed this one. I remember like marking off that I called dibs, and then I checked. And it's like, no, I did mark it as like a me book, but I didn't take dibs. And it's like, God, we hadn't done stuff in a while, like mainline stuff in a while. And I think my thought was like, we have enough to catch up on. Fuck. I'm
Yeah,
pissed
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Now I gotta wait on this shit.
It's a good one.
That's awesome. I'm glad my instincts were right. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and read the tea
Once
leaves
again,
that I laid
Nicholas,
out for
too
you.
slow. Too slow. I mean, it's happened with 7 Years in Darkness. Just saying.
Honestly, when you have the good Asian scenario, like, I don't even know if it matters. You know what I mean? All right. So,
Who's the snake now, bitch?
but
Hey.
I seriously, I hope everybody checks that one out. It does sound like an awesome series. I'm going to move over to Speed Racer issue 0. This is something that you can pick up for free on New Comic Book Day. This is written by David Pepose with art by Davide Tinto. And David Pepose he did Space Ghost over at Dynamite. We've got Captain Planet coming up from Dynamite as well. And then he's got Speed Racer over at Mad Cave. He's doing quite a bit in the sense of licensed properties that like stories that are from yesteryear, like not the stuff like that you've seen, Marvel and DC. And obviously he's doing Cable, Love and Chrome as well over at Marvel, but he's just doing all these other, like, Speed Racer's 80s, right? If I'm not mistaken, or 80s, 90s or something in that range, maybe a little older.
Might even be late 70s. Yeah.
70s. Okay, there you go. I remember watching it as a kid. Yeah, 70s makes, now that you said that, makes more sense. But because I think my dad watch Speed Racer? He knows like the Speed Racer song. I mean, not that this is saying anything, but I remember him saying it when I was a kid. But either way, he's just getting into all these like throwback like cartoons, that are brought over to the comic book medium, and I'm very much interested in checking all of these out. So it's I've been. Did you get the time check on that?
April 1967 to March 1968, 52 episodes aired on Fuji Television.
Jeez, that okay. Okay, so but when did it come over to America?
Um, the show aired in syndication probably at the same time. The
Okay.
animator was later broadcast. Yeah.
How many episodes do we got? Because we remember we talked
Uh,
Captain Planet, it was like over
52.
100.
52.
52.
Yeah.
52. Damn, that's still, especially back then, that's still a lot. Okay, awesome. Wow. Okay, so speed. So I've been dying for the start of this series, and it's going to kick off in full in August. And the big thing is like this is a character who certain generation probably doesn't know at all. For me, it's a character who I spent time with as a kid, but it's been a long ass time since I thought about Speed Racer. So I need a reintroduction. But anytime you're dealing with a reintroduction, I feel like that's still like a tough obstacle, a tough like hurdle to overcome because it's like, okay, I know this character, I need a refresher, but I also want to get going and stuff like that. And issue zeros are great for getting things for kind of setting that stage, but even still it's like this is a great issue zero because it does an awesome job of reintroducing the character, and then you have action that moves at such a great pace and is so captivating, and it works perfectly with the breakdown of the world that we're getting. Everything that needed to be done by David Pepos and Davide Tinto in this issue was accomplished. I really enjoyed this. Absolutely go pick this up at your local comic shop on free comic book day.
All right. And then we've got one last book, Nicholas. And I thought this was the finale. So I was pleasantly surprised to learn that this is the penultimate issue, not the finale. And that's Kill Train issue 4, written by Olivia Quartero Briggs with art by Martina Niosi. What'd you think there, Nicholas?
There is an amazing twist in for the story in this issue, yet it's not even the wildest development in the issue. Like it's fucking crazy. There are two crazy things that happen, and like with one of the developments, now I have this like theory brewing that going into this final issue. I'm not gonna say it, and I also really hope that it doesn't come true. I'll tell you after the show, Joe. But like, it's just like so much has changed, and
Yeah.
on a couple fronts, and it was an outstanding penultimate issue.
Yeah. It was. I mean, I've done this book a few times on my gem of the week. Um, you know, from the get go, from the first panel of the first book, like we knew this book is something special, and it is violent, it is wild, it is fast paced, and it's been emotionally gut wrenching. So I think you and I might share the same theory. So I'll be interested to talk to you about that, after the
Mm,
fact. But like, have a day. Olivia Quartero Briggs and Martina Niosi. You guys are putting together one hell of a friggin' book, and
yeah,
it's it. I, I think it's under consideration. It'll be under consideration for limited series. That's
limited
for sure.
series, best new series, yeah, either one. It's definitely one that we have to earmark for the floppies later in the year. And honestly, like with these like two like breakout creators too,
Mm,
quite honestly as well, because these are
right.
two. We need to make sure that we're looking into how much else they've done because who knows, like maybe they've been around longer. But even then, still like there's levels in which that could be different. But I'm not familiar with either of their work, and this has been such an outstanding series. Easy one to sleep on if you don't listen to the show. So if you're listening to the show and you know someone who maybe would enjoy it, let them know and let them know to listen to us. Anyways, moving on, let's get to the mainline portion of this episode. Joseph, what book do you have prepared for the people today?
Well, since we ended with Mad Cave, that means I must be talking a Mad Cave book. There's a series of books that are all fall into one universe that I've read all of now, and so I've chosen to do one of them today, and that's Revolution 9 from Mad Cave Studios, written by Mark London, with art by Carlos Reno, colors by Jao Canola, and letters by Dave Sharp. And these are all part of the Underworld universe. So we got first looks at these a ways back and talked about them, and I've since gone on to read them all, and some of them even twice. And I love this whole world. Uh, so I was like, you know what? It's a good time. It's a good time because they've got a big event coming up So let's get the word out there, about these books and start reading them. And so, synopsis for Revolution 9. After years as an assassin for the Order of Nine, an ancient order dating back almost 3,000 years, Velveteen has turned her back on the very organization that saved her. Tasked with the murder of otherwise innocent hacker Jasper Dean, she sets off to save her life and discover the terrible secret that marked him for death. With the entire order after them, Velveteen and Jasper must escape their grasp and prevent them from toppling society as we know it. So this book is a mile a minute, right? Once you sort of get that quick little introduction to sort of who the players are, it doesn't stop. Its foot is pedal to the metal, and I loved every single page of this book, and so far, really, of all of these books, Hour of the Wolf and Exit City were two books that I'll probably discuss as well at some point on this show. They're all very different books. This is your action film spy thriller. Hour of the Wolf is more of a horror type book, and Exit City is more sort of that neo, noir, kind of vibe to it. So like three different books, but you get elements of all these characters embedded within these stories, which is setting up the Endless Night crossover event that we'll be getting early in the summer. So this was just such a kick-ass book. It was well told, it was well paced, and it really does work as sort of the starter for this universe. This was the first sort of book that we got into, the underworld universe, and I think this was a great place to start off because it's very comic booky in that sense. It's actiony, and the art's fantastic, and it's violent, and it's everything that you want in a really good comic, and the stakes are high, right from the beginning, and I like that. There's no screwing around, right? You know who the good guys are, you know their motivations, you know who the bad guys are, you know their motivations, and you just want to see someone go out there and kick some ass. And so it's got a lot of John Wick vibes to it, right? So not in the sense of like, oh, someone stole her puppy and killed her partner and she's on a revenge tour. She's on a revenge tour for a much different reason, but the revenge tour is where it's at, and the kill count is where it's at. And Velveteen, who's your main protagonist here, um, what I love about her character is that everyone around her, she's sort of got this reputation of like, you're gonna screw this up. Like your plans stink, um, but she always gets the job done,
Hmm.
right? Like she's like a wild card in that sense. It's like she's gonna go in there. She's got a plan, whether it makes sense or not, but she's gonna execute it, and she's gonna do some executing. And you love, every second of it. So every panel is high octane. You root for Velveteen. You want her to win. You want her to succeed, and you really want to see where she's going. So like there's a lot of great twists and turns. And then the tie-ins that you get from the other stories, is great. So like you know you know Velveteen, she's been part of this assassin network from a little kid. So you get her origin right off the bat, and it's quick, it's nice, it's tight. She has a twin sister. They're known in the orphanage as the girls with alien eyes because they have two different color eyes, right?
Back shirt situation.
Yeah, exactly, right. And so there's a security guard at that orphanage that he sucks. He sucks. And he terrorizes those girls in a way that's only alluded to, but he terrorizes them. And one of them has had enough, and she jams a goddamn spoon into his throat and
Ooh.
kills him, right? And and they're little. They gotta be 9, 10, 11, something like that. And so one of the twins is taken and is adopted, and Velveteen, goes on to sort of be taken in by this leader of of this assassin group, the League of Nine. And she's brought up to be, one of their best assassins, their sort of lead assassin, if you will. And what you get throughout the series is you just get little snippets of her past, right? You get how they want her to be a certain way. They want a stone cold killer that's focus is nothing but the job and the task, at hand. They don't want anyone. They don't want someone with emotion. They don't want someone with free thought, right? So they there's things they do that to manipulate her, and when that all comes to light, you know, she's not very happy about it. And that
Mm.
sort of sets up, where we start off, right? Where, one of the characters, his name is Thorn, um, he starts to think that Velveteen might be an issue for them, that she might start to, not be on their side anymore, strained from the prime objective there. And so they set her out on a job to test her allegiance. And if she does what she's supposed to do, they know at least for now they can trust her. But if not, they've got a backup plan to take her out. And boy, does shit go awry. And the task at hand is this poor doofy hacker is hacked into the wrong system. His name is Jasper Dean, and so Velveteen has been tasked with taking him out because he's come into some information that will put this, centuries old assassin, network in jeopardy. And some very powerful people are involved in this. So, like, that's information you don't want to get out. But she's got other plans, and so that's sort of what these four issues sort of revolve, and then the sort of the twists that it takes, and the way that it ends just has you go, holy cow! Right? It was just so good. And what Revolution 9 does, what Exit City does, and what Hour of the Wolf does is they all have epilogues. And it's within these epilogues where we get some of these character crossovers happening. Oh, you start to there's where you see Jasper Dean end up in Exit City, right? And right.
Oh.
So like there's some really cool stuff there. So it doesn't necessarily happen in the story. It happens in these sort of like post-credit scenes, if you will, right? The epilogues, which I loved. I thought it was such a great way to execute that. So there's Thorn, and then the other main villain in this is Volta, who he is one of the nine. He's one of so there's nine sort of leaders that sort of oversee this vast network of crime and whatnot. And so he's a real sack of shit as well. And as most power hungry pricks are. And so like just the revenge tour that Velveteen goes on, the way it unfolds, like this was just a really great comic. A really to me it felt like a kick-ass 80s action movie in comic book form, right? And so like it's what you want. Like I always want to smash popcorn while I'm reading this, right? And kick back and enjoy the ride. Whereas Exit City is a little bit more conspiratorial. It's more noirish, and Hour of the Wolf sort of has you on the edge of your seat a little bit more because it's more suspenseful, and more horror in nature. So that's why I loved sort of all three of these books and sort of reading them all together because it's the same writer giving you three different stories that are all going to interweave into one. So like bravo. So like I said, I thought London does a great job with the world building without bogging the reader down with a lot of minutia. Because when you're building a world like this, where you've got three different properties all sort of interconnected, I think it can be easy to over explain and to dive too deep into everything. No, like bang, 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 bang. It's just done, so well. Velveteen there's great emotional range to her character. Like I said, she's not your typical cold-blooded assassin. There's some heart there. There's real bona fide emotion, which you don't want in an assassin. You want them emotionless, and you want them follow the prime objective and then get in and get out. Um, the art again, outstanding. It was just fast paced. The action sequences were great. The violence was great. Uh, like this is a can't miss book, and I think you read the first issue because we both did as one of our first looks. I would highly recommend Nicholas finishing up the series, jumping into Hour of the Wolf, jumping into Exit City, seeing how they all interconnect, and getting ready for that Endless Night event because it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, and I will tell the people this that there may be more from us regarding the Endless Night event coming. So make sure make sure if you're not subscribed to one of our socials, you probably want to do that at some point.
See
Not
that?
gonna,
They're
Mhm.
popped. Peepees
Yep.
are popped.
So I'm curious. You talked about. I'm glad you talked about Revolution 9 because it like that's the one we got introduced to first. You didn't have to, but I'm glad you did. I'm curious though between the three books because I'm not necessarily expecting you to do all three on the show. If you want to, by all means, because I know you read all of them and enjoyed all of them and they're all TLDR worthy. But there is a level of like this is representative of the whole series. Is How would you rank these three books? I know I'm very much putting you on the spot, but which one was your favorite? And I know you like all three, so even number three still is a quality one.
Well, like I said, it's hard to rank because they're three very different stories, right?
Love that answer.
You've got an action story, you've got a horror story, and you've got a noir story. So those are all three categories. Those are all three genres, I should
Well
say,
said.
that I love, right?
Well said.
So like I can't really sit there and rank them one, two, three. Because I love them all for different reasons. I loved Revolution 9 because it's that action flick. I will say though, like Exit City to me might be my favorite out of the bunch, just
Okay.
because it's got that neo noir vibe to it,
Hmm.
and that one really did take some really cool twists and turns, and it had sort of that conspiracy vibe to it. But they're all excellent, and for different reasons, and so like I chose Revolution 9 over Exit City to start things because this was the series that sort of kicked off the universe there. And I reread it again and it's yeah. I just loved it so much. So um yeah, I know it doesn't really answer it, but like I said, when you
No,
read
that's
them all, you'll completely understand.
Yeah, definitely. Then I think that sounds like the right answer, quite honestly. Because sometimes there's a good answer, bad answer, but this one that's the right one, based on the different genres that you're dealing with. What I'm also curious about is okay, so this is 4 issues, and obviously we're getting a crossover event. So there's not the it's not the end of Revolution 9, and this is specific to Revolution 9 as opposed to Hour of the Wolf and Exit City. Do Does the story lend itself to be continued beyond even the Endless Night event as well? Like,
Oh,
or
yeah, hands down. One of the nine was just taken out, right? Or is it being threatened, right? You got a
Mhm,
hacker threatening to expose everything. So you still got eight very other pissed off people,
mhm.
right? So like
There you go.
right, all these books sort of ended with that to be continued, ellipsis, dot, 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 sort of
Mhm,
thing. So whether that's just alluding to the event or whether we're going to get more, I would hope and assume that we're going to get more, especially with this book because, like I said, you've got this entire order that still needs to either be brought down to its knees or needs to reassert itself. So you could take it in a couple of different directions. And now that you're getting the whole gang involved, it's going to be very fun to see.
yeah. Okay, awesome. All right, good to know. So awesome. The in general, the Underworld universe is something to be checking out over at Mad Cave Studios. Now I'm gonna move over to Marvel, talk a little big two here. And I'm stunned that I'm talking about Uncanny X-Men today, not because it's not a TLDR worthy book, and I'm gonna be focusing on the most recent run, but you and I have like talked about, just to talk about, from the ashes and everything like that. But I was just shocked that you haven't checked this out. I like when we first were getting going on the From the Ashes. Obviously, we had Ryan Stegman on the show to talk X-Men and his run with Jed McKay. And then there's other things that are going on that we're interested in. But I didn't call dibs on this book, even though it has like the an X-Men team that's like this is the team that I want, like the team I never would have thought I got in my whole life, because I didn't want to take it from you. But once I found out, like we're 13 issues in, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this on the show. Like as soon as I get an opportunity, it's that way you can get going. But like I need to break this down and explain why this is such an awesome series. Is there any? I'm just curious. Like it's not a chastising or anything. Is there any reason that you had not checked this out other than like you just have so many other things and it just didn't ever make the top of your list?
I honestly, I got so overwhelmed and inundated with X-Men books when the Krakoa era started. It's just one of those mental things. It's like I'm not going to commit to 1,000 different X-Men titles, right? So
Hmm.
I just kind of pick and choose, and so it's partly that, and it's partly like we get an X-Men title almost every week. So like I get just sort of lost in the sauce of like like uh, X Force and what's the other one there? Right,
X Factor.
X Factor. Right, I'm like,
Yep.
oh shit, what like it's a lot, right?
100%. It
So
is a lot.
I get lost in the sauce a little bit, and the other thing is like, I it's easy to overcommit, and so that's just sort of the simplest answer I can give.
Understood. I really appreciate that because that reinforces that this is exactly why we do what we do on this show. Because you were talking about Revolution 9 in the Underworld universe that I need to reinvest in. And now I'm talking, and you're having an issue right now reinvesting in X-Men. This is the series that you're going to do that with, Joe. And anybody else who feels similarly, I very much feel like this is a great series to give an opportunity to. And then you're going to be like, okay, I could just read Uncanny X-Men. I'm not saying there's not other good stuff. I love what they've done over with X Factor. But Uncanny X-Men is outstanding. So I'm going to help you out, and so is Gail Simone and David Marquez, Joe. And also the other artists on this series, on top of David Marquez, we have Javier Garon, Andre Bresson, Gavin Guidry, Edgar Salazar, and Victor Olazaba. They've all filled in for David Marquez along the way, and they've done a nice job of like finding people Marvel has of that can kind of slip in for David Marquez and not create like so much of a different vibe. Part of that also has to do with Matt Wilson on colors, and I'll talk about him a little bit later on. Letters by Clayton Coles. So far, we are 13 issues into this series, into this run with Gail Simone and David Marquez. Issue 14 is going to be out in May. The first trade came out on April 8th. So you guys can go pick that one up, catch up, have a good time. And then the second trade is going to be out in August. So if you're having issues, tracking down, I guess would be issues 7 through 12, then by all means, then the trade will be out then. As for the synopsis, just to give you guys an understanding, because again, this is post-Krakoan era. Professor X is gone. Now, a core group of essential X-Men must find a way to rise again. All bonds among the mutant community seem to be slipping away, and Rogue reluctantly finds herself as the hero designated to bring them back together. But a fearless, malignant power is out there hunting mutants, and it has a terrible secret that may destroy what remains of the X-Men. Rogue can count on Gambit and Wolverine, but they'll soon welcome back another friend just in time to face 4 uncontrollable and wild mutants in the swamps of Louisiana, down the bayou. All right. So the roster is so important when it comes to X-Men because as much as you can have a good story, like we're talking about Marvel legacy characters. I mean, the reason why a lot of people, like when it comes to Marvel, at least in my experience, when you check out Marvel or DC books, you're reading for the character. And yes, you find certain creative teams that you fall in love with. And hopefully, as you evolve as a reader, you learn like, this is a creative team that I love. I want to check out their work from indie stuff. And that's where they even get to do even better work. But I will still admit when it comes to, because you and I love the indie work so much, and there's so much quality storytelling there in a bunch of different genres. When it comes to Big Two, I still run into now where I'm gravitated towards certain characters more so than anything else because I'm gonna get the other quality stuff outside of the Big Two. So when it comes to characters, to me, that's important. And when it came to the rosters that we saw from the Ashes era, and I saw the team that Gail Simone and David Marquez had, I was like, how the fuck did this happen? Like, I mean, there's good characters on the other 2 rosters, that the other 2 primary rosters that we've seen, but I'm like, this this team is a joke in like the best ways. Like this is, if I could put together a team, I don't know that mine would be much different. Like you have Rogue, Gambit, Wolverine, Nightcrawler. Boom, done. I'm all set. There are other X-Men characters who I absolutely fucking love. I don't need anybody else. But yes, Joe, you and your spirit fingers can be happy because we do have Jubilee in this series. Thank you for the fireworks. There we go. All right. So Jubilee is the 5th legacy X-Men that we have in this series. Obviously, we know all those characters. We've seen some fleshed out more than others along the way in this series. I'll talk about that a little bit more. I'm excited to see all of them get fleshed out potentially. No, we don't know necessarily that they will. Then we have the Outliers who make their first appearance in Uncanny X-Men issue 1. And then we get to know them more throughout the course of this series. We have Ransom, Death Dream, Calico, and Jitter. And I would say of that bunch, I like all of them. I think Jitter is probably number 4 on my list in terms of which ones I like the most. But they all of these characters are different from one another, but they're interesting fits with what we see with the legacy X-Men that we have. Ransom is kind of like the leader of this group. He's got a black hole heart. He's got energy absorption. He's very strong because of the energy absorption. We have Death Dream, who's like he's like this very eerie young individual who's like he's got like a death state ability. He's got like where he can like move between death and life. He's like necromancy abilities. He's poison resistant. So he's an interesting character, a very glib individual. Then we have Calico, who when it comes to breaking down some of the writing, I will talk about her a little bit more. But she's got telepathy, and she's also got this horse that, as far as I know, is just a regular horse. But at the same time, like there's a telepathic connection, and there's a lot that Calico's able to do with her horse, which is named Ember, that she can like transform this horse into like this big like fire monster and all this shit. So maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's not a normal horse. But either way, like she's able to do some shit with Ember, and it's pretty fucking cool.
I mean, I've never seen horses do that at the Derby,
That,
so it
that's
sounds
fair.
like a pretty fucking special horse.
That's fair. You're probably right. And then Jitter, I think Jitter has the most potential to be like a game changer in stories going forward because her now this is not going to sound sexy, but her power is hyper focus. But what it is that when she's able to lock in on a certain skill, she can have any power, any skill that she needs in that moment, but only for a limited amount of time. I think it's only for a minute. So I got to imagine that's going to come into play later on down the line. Like again, definitely number 4 on this list for me, but I think she has a lot of potential going forward. And that kind of brings me into like the big thing that I feel like can be an issue with big 2 books is you bring in new characters and it's like, okay, what do we do with these new characters? Like, do people like these new characters? I came here to read about Gambit and Rogue and Wolverine and stuff like that. Who are these new people? I don't care about these new people. And I really think that like it's and that's unfortunate in some ways, but I'd be lying if I don't run into those kind of emotions at times. Balancing new characters, established characters, to, like those their stories, I think is such a challenge, and it's not always well executed. And that's not to knock creators down, as I compliment Gail Simone and what she's done with it. But I'm blown away. I feel like when people are writing big 2, and it's like, okay, we're going to introduce like quite a few new characters while we have some other established characters. This is a series you should check out to see how it's done, to see what kind of characters you want to introduce into the mix, because it's such a tough balance to strike. In doing too much with new characters can also hit wrong, because it's like, I came here to read about Gambit, and if I'm not getting enough Gambit or Rogue or whatever, then it's like, what the hell? Like Nightcrawler is a character who him and Jubilee have probably been like 4 and 5 in terms of how much screen time they've gotten as compared to the other like established X-Men characters, but I feel like I've gotten a pretty good taste of them in the mix. And this has definitely been more advertised as like Rogue, Gambit, and somewhat Wolverine heavy. So it's like everything feels like it's what I expected we were going to get in this series. And then the other thing too is like you get such you have a different all these new the outliers, all these new mutants are different from one another. There's one that everybody each one presents something that a different type of person could maybe attach themselves to, and I also think they work well with these established mutants as well. I think Ransom, like him and Wolverine, they got a whole thing going, like the reluctant hero kind of vibe, and they butt heads, but also kind of have a camaraderie. Calico has this fascinating storyline that I'm assuming that Gail will dig into again down the line, but it's short. Like there's already been like some investment in where her family told her she wasn't a mutant. She's just like she's very clearly a mutant, but her family had her convinced that she's not. And I'm just like, reading it, I'm like, what the fuck do you mean you're not? Like, what are you doing with these kids? And like, how are you here? Like, what all this stuff? And it's like you get to, like when you see this character and like get to know her, you'll understand some like where some of that comes from. But I was like, damn man, that is like it's heavy in a subtle kind of way. And once you like it all comes together, it's like fuck. And I really enjoyed like enjoyed's a wrong word because I feel bad for the character, but it's like it was a really well done like smaller storyline, and there's in it she grows a lot from it, and now I'm very invested in that character. Where like Ransom and Deathstream were probably the two I was most interested in from the jump, because Deathstream, he's this creepy little bastard who I think from like a story standpoint he'll present a lot of opportunities down the line because of his like his power types and because of how weird he can be. He brings some humor. He's definitely the funniest of the bunch. So I love those three. In Jitter, again, like I'm not trying to like drag Jitter right now, but it's just she's number 4 on that list for me. I think she does have potential. I think she's like a nice character, and I could see her being someone else's favorite character of this bunch, but she's not necessarily mine. Now, I've
Makes
talked a
sense.
lot about these new characters. We move over to the legacy characters. And if you guys listen to our weekly stuff, you've heard me talk about how Gail Simone has written Rogue, how Gail Simone has written Gambit. And I can't, like, of all the characters that a legacy, like Marvel and DC characters that I can be maybe a little too hard on about, like, it is Rogue and it is Gambit and how they are written. And I know why you're laughing, and that's you get your head out of the gutter, Joseph. I, I, I love how both of them have been written, and the greatest surprise that I've gotten in this series was that after some amazing internal monologue from Gale with Rogue, expecting that throughout the entirety of the series, she then turns things around and does it with Gambit for like this very Gambit centric issue. I think it was issue 12, and then in issue 13, I get more Gambit narration. I was like, wait a second, like this is a shift in the series. Like we're going to get a lot more of this stuff. Okay, all right, I'm in. I didn't know this was going to happen, and it's really fucking well done. And I just love how it's developing, like allowing those characters to develop in different ways. And I also love how she writes their relationship. It's just this is exactly how I like the way they are together. Like Rogue is significantly more powerful than Gambit. She is the alpha in that relationship, and Gambit is like a badass dude, but at the same time he doesn't need to be front and center for everything, and he wants to like help his wife thrive, and she also wants to help him thrive as well. And I love their relationship. I always have, and this is just some of the best writing when it comes to their relationship. So if you love Gambit as much as I do, you got to be reading this series, and because you also, if you love Gambit or if you love Rogue, you love the other character more than likely. And again, haven't talked a whole lot about Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and Jubilee. Got some great action stuff from Nightcrawler in this series, but we haven't gotten any narration from them. Wolverine's definitely been more at the center with Rogue and Gambit. Wolverine stuff has been good, but I think there's a lot of room to delve into those other three. I wouldn't be surprised if Wolverine's the last one that Gale would dive into, just because Wolverine has his own series, and there's plenty of Wolverine stuff out there, like Nightcrawler, Jubilee. I would think Jubilee would be next, but I'm not sure. There's been no reason for me to assume that. I'm just assuming, but we get a mix of arc sizes in this series. Like there's stuff focused on, stuff focused on Gambit, stuff focused on Rogue, stuff on the Outliers. We have Sarah Gaunt, who is this terrifying character that'll haunt your fucking nightmares, that has this history with Professor Xavier that's prominent in this. There was one X-Men event, and I know that's always your concern. Like how does that bog down a book? How does that bog down a main title, the main line? And I think we got one issue from that, from Uncanny X-Men in that. And it honestly, I was like, okay, this didn't throw off the series. Like I get it how it's applying to everything else, but it still works. Like, and then we got to the next issue and we're rolling. Like we're right back on track. So Gail's done a really good job of like kind of handling that, bouncing around how in manners that in the way it's necessary. And I think the way she handles the series all around kind of allows for that kind of one issue, and then it fits, and it's not self-contained, but it still doesn't like throw the entire series off. And then from an art standpoint, like I mentioned already how they did a good job of like backfilling for David Marquez when they've needed to. But what I love is how David Marquez's art style mixes with Wilson's colors, because what's wild is we talk about grittiness a lot in art on this show. And I love that, and I know you do as well, but we don't necessarily need that. But generally, when we talk about it, we are talking about the penciler, the line artist, the inker. Like, how are they bringing that to the table? But it's actually Wilson's colors that provide the grittiness. And I love that. Like, and that's not to say David Marquez doesn't necessarily have that element as well, but it's just there is like a cleanliness to what he does. And it does feel like, especially with like the eyes, there is like a shine, but then everything else has like that grittiness vibe to it. And it's very appealing. I really, really like that vibe that it provides for the series, and especially when so much of this stuff is set down in Louisiana. So, and then when it comes to like character designs too, last thing, like Deathstream Deathstream is like a character, like there's a certain group of people that are going to enjoy Deathstream. There's a certain character who Ransom has Ransom has a resemblance toward. Calico feels like a very familiar like character just from life. Jitter's probably again like the one that has like the again, like for me, the least appealing, but I'm sure for somebody else, like Jitter is a great character. So, and Marquez has to do so much from an art standpoint, and so do the other pencilers. But like you have Deathstream in like that Sarah Gaunt, the character that I mentioned, like terrifying, and then you got Gambit and Nightcrawler, and it's just like so much different cool shit, and it's all in the same fucking book. It's so good. Joe, you're gonna read this and you're gonna be like, "Fuck, man, I've been missing out on this." You're gonna sit down one weekend, whenever you decide to do it, and you're gonna read all however many issues, however long you wait on it.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that, because I'm definitely jonesing for a little more X-Men. So I think this, pun intended, Nicholas, this book is in the cards.
Nice. Nice. All right, now
Nice.
it is time. I've been excited to talk about Uncanny X-Men, but I'd be lying if I didn't say every time we do a trade, the thing I am most excited about is to hear the book that I previously recommended that you want to discuss on the show and let the people know that it has gotten your stamp of approval as well. And as I alluded to earlier, we are going to make a game from this. Joe won the first round. Joe, I don't know how many times Joe won or how many times Joe guessed correctly the book that I was going to talk about, but he did it more than I did because I haven't gotten it fucking right yet. I know that for a fact. So you at least got, I feel like you at least got a couple. You think even more than a couple? Like,
it was, in all reality, it was probably like 3 or 4 that I probably guessed about right.
So so what we're going to do from here on out is keep score of correct guesses. So it's going to be, and I'm doing this on the fly. Actually, Joe, I just thought of this element. We're each going to lay out 3 books that the other has, that 3 books as guesses. So I'm going to present you with 3 books before you tell me. Mm-hmm. But then I'm also going to guess the final one, which you and I had discussed before. 1 point if I get one of the 3, if it's like if my 3 includes the book that that you're talking about. 2 points if I'm able to get it right. Sound good?
Love it.
Okay.
Love it.
All right.
Okay.
Awesome.
You go.
So we're starting a new score now with trade 11.
Okay. So I'm going to discuss the book first. So what are your guesses, Nicholas?
Okay. So my 3 guesses for Joe for trade 11 are Ain't No Grave, The Deviant, and Rook Exodus.
Okay. Nicholas, are you ready?
Yes. Wait, is any of those correct? Because then I gotta.
You'll see. Well, you ready?
You can't tell me because I need to then do the final guess.
All 3 are wrong, Nicholas.
Okay.
All 3 are very, very wrong.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Okay.
Damn it. Here we go. Big reveal. Come on.
I don't have a drum roll sounder.
Yeah.
What is that? Oh, Rogan Game. Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I would have
told you 0 guesses in 1,000 years. It's the thing I've been most confident on in my whole life was that you were not going to get this book correct. I will tell you, I did think about all 3 of those books actually.
Okay.
With Ain't No Grave was the one that I was thinking about the most before I was like, you know what? He's doing X-Men this week. I'm going to double down on the Rogue and Gambit, baby.
Damn.
And I read this and I flew through this. So Rogue and Gambit, you discussed this. Now let's take a look here. Let me go to my trusty notes. Issue 96
Damn.
Of TLDR. So this is a recent one. I usually like to dig. I like to go
Yeah.
deep.
That
You
was my
know,
concern. That was my concern with my guesses. I was like, Joe likes to like. I'm always guessing more recent, but Joe loves to turn back the clock. So fuck. Okay.
I'm like Cher, baby. I like to turn back time. Um, so I scrolled through and then it caught my eye. I go, yes, I'm gonna do this. For a myriad of reasons. One of which because you were doing Uncanny X-Men, and you absolutely love Gail Simone's portrayal of Rogue and Gambit. But I also remembered how much you loved Stephanie Phillips' portrayal of Rogue and Gambit. So this, of course, written by Stephanie Phillips, art by Carlos Gomez, with letters by Ariana Mahar and colors by David Curiel. Krakoa is on a precipice. Destiny can see what's coming, but the precog cannot act. For that, she'll need her adoptive daughter, Rogue. Husbands need not apply, but Gambit is determined to make the most of the mission anyways. Man, I love this. This was such a great character study. This was such a great portrayal of each character. It was a great portrayal of married life. I thought it was two characters who love each other very, very much, but are two wildly, completely different personalities, right? And it puts a lot of strain on their relationship and puts a lot of strain on the task at hand. But what I loved most about it was Remy's um, unwillingness to give up, right? To give up on the mission, to give up on Rogue, and I absolutely love that dynamic because he is a scoundrel, right? And Rogue can be a bit of a screw up, but his intentions, for the most part, at least when it comes to Rogue,
Yeah.
are always very good. And just when you think he's fucking something up, it's classic parlor trick, right? Look over here while I do this, right? And somehow finds a way, not so much to save the day, but to turn a shitty situation, into a good one. But I love the premise of the story too, where you've got this villain has found a way to sort of inhibit mutants' powers, and then is selling them to the highest bidder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I loved that entire storyline. I loved the interactions with the good guys and the bad guys, right? I loved the stakes. There was a moment where Rogue thought she was helping out a fellow mutant, and it went horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, the visceral reaction that she has and how to overcome that, I just thought was so emotionally raw. So for any X-Men fan, for any Rogue fan, for any Gambit fan, like this is a must-read book. Stephanie Phillips is a tremendous writer, and Carlos Gomez's art was exceptional. Exceptional. This book really had everything you want in an X-Men book. It had action, it had great storytelling, it had depth, it had stakes, it had emotion, and it had levity. There was some great. I mean, anytime you've got Gambit in there, you're gonna have a chuckle.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when he realizes that he can touch Rogue and have her powers not affect him.
Mm-hmm.
He does what any red blooded American's gonna do with his gal in the high desert, which was great. So I absolutely love this book, Nicholas. You were dead on to talk about this one on the program. I'm glad you did, and I'm glad I had the brilliance to also to read it and discuss it.
I am very glad you did it. I'm very glad you did it at this time because like spot on, dude. Like this is gonna be. It's like a great taste for you now. Like as much as Stephanie Phillips and Gail Simone are not the same writer by any stretch, they're both great writers. They both clearly understand the character so well. And when you start reading Uncanny X-Men, you're gonna be like, okay, like this you could not have made a better decision, honestly. And any other of our listeners that haven't read Rogue and Gambit, it's only a 5-issue series, a 6-issue series. It was just a limited series, 5 issues. Thank you. And it's like just read that, and then you're like, if you enjoy that dynamic, you're gonna enjoy it because I just feel like they both capture the essence of those characters so well. And I never ever would have thought of you reading that book for this. Just
Yeah, once I
brilliant.
started, I did not put it down. I flew through it. Right, it was just bam. It's a great read. You pick up the trade. I read it on Hoopla, so it's there if you have a library card, and you'll fly through it. It's 160 something pages, right? There's a lot of great like cover art that you get at the end, as you do with most trades. But like 5 issues, flew through it, didn't put it down once. Tremendous.
That's outstanding. That is awesome. All right, it is time for you to try and guess the book that I want to discuss that you have recommended previously on this show, Joe. What are your 3 guesses?
My 3 guesses are Lawful, The One Hand, The Six Fingers, and Crocodile Black.
Okay.
And my guess is Lawful.
Okay. I'm going to do it like that going forward. Sorry. Just for whatever it's worth, my guess would have been Eight No Grave as of the final of the 3 that I had. So I have read The One Hand and the Six Fingers. I have read that. It is not the book that I am doing today. I have not read Lawful, and I have not read Crocodile Black yet.
Oh, I was convinced. I mean, I was sure shit because I remember the FOMO you had for both of those books.
Mm-hmm. And that would have made a lot of sense. But as I was scrolling through, because I don't want to necessarily just do like
Do I get a point here?
No, you get no points. You get
So how does the 1 point work?
1 point works if you get one of the first 3 right. I mean, if the 3
if one of the books I was correct, but if it wasn't one that I picked, like as my pick and stick it.
Exactly. Yep. You get more rewards for the pick and stick, and then you get at least some reward. Yeah, there we go. It's again mainly more so for me because I'm never gonna get it right exactly. All right. So the book that I am discussing this week, Joe, is The Hunger and the Dusk from IDW Publishing by G. Willow Wilson. Oh my God, the art is by Chris Wildgoose, and this is such an awesome high fantasy series. I read the entirety of the first volume, and then the second volume. We got the first 3 issues, and the rest of the series is going to be published in a graphic novel form. The entire second arc, which honestly, like I love that as well. I need more G. Willow Wilson in my life, Joe. She's so fucking good. Like we've raved about her before. You obviously with this series, and me with Poison Ivy, which she's been crushing over at DC. But for me, what I love so much here, again, we're talking about IDW, where it's indie and it's not licensed, like it's their own characters and everything like that. What I love about here about G. Willow Wilson's work and Chris Brock's stuff is so fucking cool. Like the high fantasy flair and everything is outstanding, and also the colors are by Misasik. I'm sure I'm saying their name wrong. And then color assist by Deanna Souza, letters by Simon Boland. But what is done so well by Wilson and Wildgoose in The Hunger and the Dusk is the world building. It is absolutely my favorite part of this entire series, and we talk about it a lot, like within our reviews. Like there are just some stories that really do a lot from a world building standpoint. There's so many moving pieces, and some series it's done well. Some series it's really an important part, but I don't know that I'll often say that it's my favorite part of a series. But it really is here for me because we get so much, but at the same time, it feels like we're getting so little. Like it's just a fraction of what the Hunger and the Dusk, like universe, whatever you want to call it, has to offer. There's so much history. There's so much politicking, and the possibilities are endless. And I love that. Like and when I say I feel like we're getting a lot, it's all coming in the natural flow of the story. And when you get that kind of world building, man, that is chef's kiss. That is perfect stuff. I don't need to be like, you can tell me some things. Obviously, you're talking, you're getting narration, whatever. Like, of course, but if it fits in the flow, then that's when it's at its best. That's when it's rolling, because then it gives the story momentum. But so that's how we get so much, because the story calls for it. But man, like, like it's just. I'm looking at these different things, and it's like I talk about politicking, like in it, and it is there, like it's present in a few different ways. But like there's this one moment where you have this high council meeting of the orcs, and that is like the peak of the politicking, and it's like, fuck, man, this is really uncomfortable. Like, and then like decisions are made, and it's like, oh shit, and it's like you're getting familial stuff thrown in the mix there, and it's like, oh boy, like this could get really ugly really fast. I loved that. Like I've thought about that element a lot. I don't know that how much G. Willow Wilson's going to do with it in the second, the second volume, and if there's a third volume and everything. But man, I loved it, and I think there's just so much potential. So, yeah, The Hunger in the Dusk. If you guys have been sleeping on that series, there's so much. There's so much, because I'm even thinking about, like, the two sides, the orcs and the humans that have come together. They're fighting the Vangals, and then it's like, yeah, but there's something else there. There's something else
Filthy
going on.
orcs. Filthy orcs.
There's something. I'm very, very interested in like how this second arc unfolds. I will be reading the next three. I might wait till the full second trade comes out in its entirety, because I'm gonna like crush this thing. But it is fucking outstanding. Great call, great find by you, Joe.
Yeah, I'm now kicking myself. I should have seen the high fantasy book coming a mile away. I got fixated on a couple of books that you talk about having FOMO on, but like, yeah, I love it. The second I've read the first 3 issues, unfortunately there was like, because the first volume like that just moved at a monthly pace. It was great, and then for a myriad of reasons, the second book, has just sort of been delayed and postponed. And so they're going to do it as a graphic novel. But I have read the first 3 issues, of book 2, and so you're going to get what you want. It definitely gets
Nice.
a little bit more political. It gets, one of the things that I love, especially in like these high fantasy stories, right, is a constant chess game going on, right? And you've got players, you know, saying one thing, doing another, and things really unfold, and you get a bit of regret that transpires, and so like I love it. I love this book. G. Willow Wilson absolutely crushes. I love the fact that out of today's episode, we 3 of the writers have been women,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is we don't have enough. A lot of the books we read are predominantly male writers. So I love that we discuss books by G. Willow Wilson, Stephanie Phillips, and Gail Simone, because those are 3 very, very excellent books. And the Wild Goose's art is absolutely outstanding. It's one of the things I love about fantasy stories in general. I just love the art that generally accompanies it, and the art in the Hunger in the Dusk is fantastic. But the action is great. The Vangal are great villains. The orcs, despite them trying to, at least a faction of them trying to, you know, move in a peaceful direction, they're still kind of villains. And the
Mm-hmm.
humans are, so like it's great. It's just you've got all these moving parts, and it's an excellent. I'm glad you read it, Nicholas. That
I
warms the cockles of my heart.
Yeah, you know what, we're slowly starting to see, I feel like, more and more kick-ass high fantasy comics,
Hmm.
and I'm very much here for it, and I know you are just as much, if not more so. And also, we've talked about it before, like, these are 3 women who we'd love to talk to on the show at some point. I think we've only met Stephanie Phillips. We met her at C2E2, and I know she's been pretty, she's got a very full slate. But these are 3 women that we definitely need to find a way to try and get on the show at some point and
Gail
talk to. And
Simone loves us, baby.
apparently, yeah. So we gotta get it. So you know what? Read Uncanny X-Men, and then we'll find a way to get her on the show. But we
We can do
definitely
that.
need to talk to any of these 3, if not all of them, at some point down the line. We need to get them on. But yeah, that is gonna do it for the 11th trade on the show. If you want to listen to more, obviously go check the audio version of this show, where you can leave a 5-star rating and review, only 5 stars or higher. Otherwise, you're going to learn the real meaning of Backcracker. And make sure you subscribe, if nothing else, to make sure you have the Friar Side chats delivered to your listening device as they drop, because you never know when they're going to hit, because Joe and I never know when we're going to record one. Right now, Joe, I think the plan is, if I'm not mistaken, solicit for the month of May coming up. If you haven't already, make sure you go listen to that Friar Side chat that we just dropped with Zach Kaplan. Some awesome stuff. Kill All Immortals in trade paperback form hits comic book shops this week. Until next week, Joe.
Keep reading, baby. Bang, bang.